Welcome back to Inspirational Living. I'm your host, Shauna Jenkins, and this month's theme is about helping you connect with your divine feminine. Whether it's awakening the divine feminine, honoring our feminine energy, living in harmony with Mother Nature, or recognizing the duality of feminine and masculine energy. Today, I have with me Kena Hodges. She is a transformation coach, a yoga teacher at Shine On in Greenville, South Carolina, and author of Unmasked: Finding Freedom in the Shadows. Today, she's going to be talking about how to awaken the divine feminine. Welcome to the show, Kena Hodges.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to have you here, and I want to know about your book and everything that you wrote on the Unmasked: Finding Freedom in the Shadows. So do you want to tell everybody a little bit about you more than everything that I just said?
Sure. So I am a former professional basketball player. I'm a single mom to an 18-year-old son who's absolutely amazing. He is my world. And I'm a transformation coach, but I had this journey to that space. And so, like a lot of people that may be listening to this podcast, I, was told, like, you go to school, you get good grades, you're supposed to go to college and do well. And when you graduate from college, you're supposed to know who you are and, get a good job and work and retire and then, enjoy life, right? Those are the golden years. And I did part of that. I went to college, and after college, I was like, no, I don't want to work. It's not my thing. And I played ball overseas. And then I came back from playing overseas and started dating a guy. I also had gotten injured while I was overseas. And so I had to make a decision on whether or not I wanted a third knee surgery at the time or kind of walk away from the game in a professional space. And I decided to walk away from the game, fell in love with a guy. And I mean, he was gorgeous on the outside. He was very unattractive on the inside. And, he was abusive emotionally and physically. And even though we were engaged, I left that relationship when I was pregnant, and he had asked me to have this abortion, and I told him no. And he proceeded to throw me down the stairs and try and force me to miscarry because I would not have an abortion. And I survived that very long experience. It felt like hours. And I left that relationship. I lived in a shelter for domestic violence survivors for 7 months while I was pregnant. And then I started to get back on my feet, and then I did the job thing, right? So, it's like fight or flight. And then you're like, okay, you need benefits, Kena, and income because you've got a baby coming. So you got to figure this out really fast.
Yeah.
And so I started working. My mom owns an HR consulting firm, and, she said, hey, we can have this family business together. And I was like, okay, yay. And she's like, and I have benefits. And I'm like, yay. Because I was just like, that's what I needed. And I quickly learned that it was not a family-owned business. My mama owned the business, and I worked there, right? And there was a very distinct difference. And I was there for 5 years, and I worked really hard. HR was a new space, but I took to it very easily, and clients loved me, and it was going really well. But the pay wasn't, in my mind, keeping up with what I felt I should be making, given all the work that I was doing.
Yeah.
And my mom, I love her. She said, hey, you know what? This is what I'm paying you based on your background and experience. If you think you can do better, go do better. So I went and I found better. So I left and got another job and worked, kept growing and working my way up the career ladder in the HR space, and became a vice president of HR for a commercial real estate firm. And I was with that firm for like 7 years. And commercial real estate is a very masculine industry, right? It is male-driven, white male-driven, clean-cut white male-driven. There aren't a lot of women. There's definitely not a lot of women of color, and there aren't a lot of women of color with locks, right? Yeah. So, and I like transitioned the locks piece once I got the job, then I was like, ooh, I can kind of be myself a little bit. But so during that time, you know, I'm grinding, like I'm working, and I've made it because I was told, go to college, get a good job. I finally got the great job. I had the corner office, I had the executive title, nice salary, and was still broke. Time broke, money broke. And my son was playing travel basketball, so I had side hustles. I had a fitness company I was running on the side. I was teaching group fitness classes. I was training, you know, doing personal training. I was doing all of this stuff, coming up with meal plans. I had all these certifications, and it was like a rat race. It was a constant rat race, and my body never felt like I could just breathe. Right, I just could never breathe. And I was dating this guy at the time. We dated through like almost 5 years. But I was dating this guy at the time, and I was trying to keep up too. You know, he was a firefighter, then decided he wanted to be a personal trainer. And then he's a personal trainer where every woman in the world wanted to throw themselves at him. And come to find out, he was sleeping with them, like the majority of them. But I didn't know that.
Oh my God.
So, you know, there was a lot going on with that, and, you know, just kind of always ripping and running. And, you know, as women, it's like, we'll figure it out, right? Particularly as a mom, like moms, we're like, we'll figure it out. We don't have a choice. We figure it out. And you get really, really tired and really burnt out because you're always having to figure it out. And I couldn't just be still, because if I'm still, the bills don't get paid. My son doesn't get to go, you know, get to where he needs to be and, you know, work and all of that. So a friend of mine, she actually was my loctician at the time. She said to me, you know, she gave me a book, and she gave me Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life book. And it's a book now that I recommend to like all of my clients that I coach. And she said, you know, things are getting ready to shift in your life, and particularly in your relationship. And if anything in your relationship does not feel good to you, run, like just run in the other direction. And I said, oh, okay. All right, girl, thank you. And so, and I love her, right? She's still part of my soul squad. And a couple months later, maybe 2 months later, my son and I were involved in a almost fatal car crash. It was, no one should have walked away from that car crash the way it happened. And that particular weekend, we were in Philly for one of my son's AU tournaments. The guy I was dating at the time was supposed to come. He backed out at the last minute, so I was real pissed. He's like, I'm gonna still send you money to help pay for stuff. I was like, that's not the point. You made a commitment. You know, I'm just arguing with him. And he still had to drive to Philly to come get us because I totaled a rental car. So I was like, I don't know how to get home. So so he came up, and he just was not how I expected him to be. And we broke up that night. We got back to Maryland, and I was like, this isn't working. And I remembered my friend saying, if something doesn't feel, you know, right, run in the other direction. And I'm like, I'm gonna die today. And it made it very, very clear that what I was doing in my life needed to shift. And so my book started in 2017. It has been a labor of love because I've been living the book up until I decided, okay, this is where book one stops. And it really is about my journey of healing, of coming into like healing the relationship with myself, my mind, my body, my spirit, healing relationships with family members, healing the relationship with my son, unpacking trauma that I experienced that was intergenerational, that I was able to be like, I don't even know where that came from. And then come to find out my grandmother went through that, and my great grandmother went through these things. And I'm like, I didn't even know some of these people, you know. So and the book was cathartic for me. It was very therapeutic. And it almost turned into a blueprint. It's the beginning of the blueprint. The next one will really be like step by step how I did some of the things, but how I went from how I began to thrive after trauma. And so it's like a powerful statement for me. Now there's some family members that are a little nervous about the book, like, so am I in the book? And you know, what does it say? what exactly, which stories did you tell? I'm like, I told all of them. But, they'll have to just get the book and read it. I've changed names for other people and professions so I don't get sued and kind of whatever. But, that kind of thing. But that's where I am. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, I was asked to speak on some panels about, turning your passion into a paycheck, because I was able to walk away from my executive job and really step into the space that I was most passionate about and felt was my purpose, which was helping people elevate their lives. And, I didn't promise results because I can't guarantee that the people are going to do the work that's required, because transformation it's heavy work, but it can be fun. And it can be fun. I call it a beautiful mess. And it is. I mean, there's some days where it's like ugly cry, and there's some days where I'm doing mermaid flips in the ocean, and all of it is healing. Yeah. So, but 2017 is when I started to understand how I needed to shift. My energies were out of balance. That masculine, feminine energy was just out of balance. It was just all masculine energy because that's what my life was demanding at the time. And I was understanding that I was creating a lot of the chaos in my life. We're co-authors of that. We're source for the things that are happening in our life. And so, it's been great now. Not to say life doesn't have some moments and some hardships, but I get to face challenges as they arise and ask myself the question, well, who do you get to be to overcome this? Or who do you get to be to make the life that you want happen? Who do you get to be to XYZ? So it's all about me showing up in a way where I get to be whoever I want to be or whoever I need to be to have the life that I want. And that feels really good. And that's freeing, and it's soft. It's easy. It's just a nice balance. So that's me.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's what we've been conditioned to be, is to work in that masculine energy, that grind, no sleep, I'll sleep when I'm dead, like all this stuff. And it's like, it's not really healthy for us, because it keeps us in that state of fight and flight constantly. And then you just have burnouts.
And then, you can even take that a step further. We fight or flight, your body stays in fight or flight for too long, then you start having inflammation show up in the body, and pain and dis-ease in the body. And I'm careful what I say, because, our federal government likes to regulate certain words. So, again, I never want to be sued. But, the body, there's a book called The Body Keeps Score. And it talks about how trauma gets stored in your physical body, and how that trauma being held in your physical body creates ailments and disease in the body. And so it just kind of goes back to our topic today, as to why it's so important to have this balance of masculine and feminine energy, because it creates balance in the body, which then releases the dis-ease and the inflammation and the stress and the tightness and things in your body. If you can sit on the floor, if you sit on the floor and you try and cross your legs and you can't, as women, we hold trauma and emotions and anger and fear and all of that in our hips. And I noticed when I started releasing, just like letting shit go, just letting it go, not needing to be right, not needing to have the last word, being okay with being misunderstood. When I, said, I don't have time, I can only be responsible for me. My body started to shift. I would say, people even say I look different. And I see it. Like, I don't feel like I look the same way I did 6-7 years ago. It's almost like my bone structure shifted. Like, it's just a different glow and feel and energy. But that was because I made the choice that I said, this is going to kill me if I stay over here. If I stay out of balance, this is not going to be a good ending for Kena. And so, at 43, I'm working towards doing splits, which is something that as an athlete, as a basketball player, we notoriously are known to have tight hamstrings, tight hips, tight glutes, because we're always jumping and that's our base, right? So it's like, what? All the things I'm able to do with my body is surprising to me. And at the same time, I'm not surprised at all because, I'm doing the work. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you remember what made you like say, I can't keep doing this? Like, I can't keep working, being in this type of masculine or this type of go, go, go. What was the shift?
Yeah. So I mentioned I was working in commercial real estate, and I was the only woman on the executive team, the only woman of color on the executive team. And, it was a struggle to get to where I was. And the CEO, he would like give you promotions or increase salaries, and make it seem like he was doing you a favor, not like you earned it or deserved it, but it was like a favor, And so there were like 3 strikes. And the first one was when he came in my office and he sat down across from my desk and he put his feet up on my desk and crossed his feet. He was like, Kena, I think I was thinking, you've been doing a great job, and think you'd appreciate, if you made $110,000. So I'm going to increase your salary to $110,000. And I was like, okay. And he looked at me like, this is a good time to say thanks. So I was like, thank you. He really thought he was doing me a favor. In DC, $110,000 goes nowhere. Okay. Like, seriously. So I was just like, my rent was $2,000 a month. Okay. So after taxes and rent and insurance and a kid, like, I still had to work I still had side hustles. So I was like, okay. That was strike 1. Strike 2 was, again, we had a policy where if you referred investors, you could get 3%, like a 3% referral fee of whatever amount they invested within any of these commercial deals. So I brought a $15 million investor to the table. So I'm excited. I'm doing the math, like 3% of 15 million is $450,000. And as soon as I get that, I'm out. I'm out. And, he said to me, he said, I will kill the deal before I pay you $500,000. And then he said, and on top of that, that policy was, honestly, the policy was really meant for brokers, not necessarily for everybody else. Remember, I'm the VP of HR. I'm the person that administers and maintains all of the company policies. So you're literally trying to shift the policy with the person that's responsible for the policy. Okay, got it. So he's like, so you know what, we're just gonna do away with that policy. So not only did he bypass my investor, did away with the policy to avoid having to pay me $450,000. And he made a deal that was not a good deal for his company, and we'll see how things turn out. So that was strike 2, because I was like, this man is never going to pay me what I'm worth. It doesn't matter what I do, doesn't matter how hard I work, and it doesn't make him a bad person. This is just where he is in business, right? So let me be clear about that. Like, he's not a terrible person or anything like that. It's just, that's what you run up against with CEOs. And they're just not, I'm not giving you $500,000. I don't care what the hell you do. So, let's do away with that policy. I think he was more surprised that I had people in my network with that kind of money that could do the deal, right? Because that's the other thing. He didn't think that people knew what luxury was and stuff like that. And then the third thing, the third strike, were just kind of some statements that he made that I felt were racially or culturally insensitive. And, I had his ear in a unique way where I could talk to him about it. Like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that in the all staff meeting, but it gets to be this, you get to this point where you get fatigued at having to constantly be like, hey, chicken and watermelon is probably not a good reference when you're talking people of color in corporate setting, just saying.
Yeah.
Like referring to you being like a slave because you're Jewish, that's quite land, And so again, not to minimize the Holocaust, but it's just not the same thing. And we're at work. Why are we talking about this anyway? So, things like that where I just got tired and I said, I want my time. I want my time back. And so what I said to him one day, I said, listen, I can do this job. Now it's like full on, Corona pandemic time. So everyone's at home anyway. And, work has slowed down. So I said, I can do this job for you part-time, save you this kind of money. And in my mind, I've already calculated the money I wanted to make. And, we can do it like this. And he said, great, let's do it. And we did it. So I moved into the consulting space. And that's when I started creating the shift. And I realized I have a mantra that it's on my website. I say it all the time. When you heal yourself, you heal the collective. So I got to the point where I started teaching people how I did that. And then, I was fortunate enough to not, I didn't get the vid for like a year and a half. And people wanted to know, like, well, what are you doing? So again, when you heal yourself, you heal the collective. So I coached people on what I was doing.
Yeah.
And, I'm just teaching people, like, I'm not saying it keeps you from getting it. I'm just saying that I got it and I was fine, or whatever. Like, you got to be careful with these things.
Yeah.
And so, there was just things that I started to experience and people were like, Kena, tell me more. How did you reverse your son's asthma? Oh, well, here's what I did, Kena. So I started leaning into what people were asking me, and people were not asking me, how do I get a job in corporate America and be disrespected on a daily basis? That's not what people want. People want to know how to elevate their health, their wealth, and their relationships. Yeah. Period. That's what people want to know. And so I said, this is the space that feels good. Like, it feels so good when I'm talking about this stuff versus I got to talk about what so-and-so said to so-and-so in a meeting. And now you got to put them on a tip and what's the performance review and they want a bonus and the bonus is cash and stock. Like, that is just exhausting. So yeah, that's when I made the shift.
Oh my God, I don't know how you could have worked for him, that company that long. So I can understand why you said, all right, this is enough because of all of that. And then to now be doing something that you enjoy and people actually came to you for it. They often say that sometimes what people are asking for, like what people want, what you can make money out of, and then what you enjoy. I think as one of my guests says something like that, if you want to know what your passion is or your purpose, then think about what the world needs, think about what you enjoy, and then think about what you can make money. So yeah, sounds like you've been able to do that.
It's been a nice journey, and it's never been about the money now. Yeah. So you start to learn, like I said earlier, as women, we do what we have to do, right? We just do. And so, yeah, I stayed in that job for a long time, and then even as a consultant for 2 years, because I thought that's what I had to do, or what I needed to do. What I realized is that, Kena, no, you get to choose the life that you want. You get to go create it. And to create it meant that I needed to shift into my creative side, a softer space. And that was all feminine energy. That was like, girl, let this stuff go. Stop fighting to be seen. Like I demand a seat at this table. I'm at the table. It's all of this stuff. And it works for some people. So I want to be clear, like, if that is working for you, go for it. But for me, I was burnt out. I was done. I had Monday blues every Monday, and it was not the Monday blues that I have now, where the blues are like the water behind me and the ocean. I was just like, oh, hell, it's Monday. I got to go to work. And now I get to wake up. It's like, oh, it's Monday. What lives do I get to change? And that feels really good. And I just know that I owe it to myself. I owe it to my son. I owe it to my ancestors to be in my purpose and not, be enslaved to a paycheck
Mm.
that's not making an impact, that's not helping to heal the world, that's not impacting the 2%, that's not creating a butterfly effect. Like it's bigger than me. And I'm excited about that. I just got chills. I'm so excited about, I'm excited about doing that work. That feels good and it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. I'm excited that you're helping the 2%, because we need
That's all it
everybody helping the 2%.
Yeah, that's all it takes. The butterfly effect or the critical theory, it's about 2%. That's it. It's just about how the 2% can create a shift, how butterflies in the Amazon can create a tsunami on the other side of the world. And that's what it's about. So it's being in such a way that the way I am literally creates, invokes, inspires someone else to be in such a way that inspires somebody else to be in such a way. Like when Marianne Williamson says in her poem, like you get to let your light shine so that others know that it's okay for them to do it too. And so so it's just a chain reaction. Like, okay, now somebody is in power. Like, you know what? Yeah, I don't have to deal with that. Yeah, I can. Maybe I need to go find another job while I figure out what's next, but I don't have to deal with what is given to me. I get to go create what I want, and then I get to have that experience. I don't have to do anything. I get to do everything.
Yeah.
And you shift your mindset with those two words. It's really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Language is definitely how we say things. I'm learning that just from studying. I'm like, oh, I can be speaking words on my life. So that's definitely going to make a big shift in people's lives. For someone that's saying, I'm ready to just get to that space that you are, just letting things come with ease and just awakening the divine feminine, what could they do? What are the steps what would you suggest?
So the first thing I would say is to start with a morning ritual.
Yeah.
Right? The way you start your day sets the tone for your day. And so whatever you believe in. So whether it's you're praying in the morning, you're meditating in the morning, you're journaling in the morning, doing breath work, whatever that is to you, for you to tap into your intuition or into your highest self and hear, that's where you start. So, it helps for you to be able to be receptive, like that helps you to be open. And then, from there, I have like a list that I made. Got a whole list of things to do. And then you want to create a sacred space in your home. So find a place in your home that is just yours, right? Where you can, when you can have this morning ritual, where you can just be, you can breathe, you can meditate, you can write, whatever, burn incense, light candles, whatever, dance, spin in circles, just take moments that feel like play and relaxation and softness to you. Because again, the world is waiting for you as soon as you walk out the door, even as soon as you pick up your phone. So, I do encourage people, like the first 15, 20 minutes of your morning when you wake up, don't reach for the electronics unless you're doing like the guided meditation, on your phone or something like that. But, really make it about you. Don't go onto the grams and the TikToks and the books and, things like that, because we're all guilty of it. You go in there, be like, let me just check my messages. And then something pops up. Oh, yesterday, Don Lemon got fired. Ooh, okay. Well, what happened with that? And next thing 30 minutes later, you're like, Don Lemon got fired. Tucker Carlson got fired. Everybody's getting fired today. Oh, well, it is Mercury retrograde. And this is where your mind goes, right? So take a moment to just be with yourself. That's really important. Journaling is something that, I had to be intentional about, and now I love it. I do future journaling, where with that is, so for example, December 31st of 2022, I wrote a journal entry for December 31st, 2023. And I talked about how amazing 2023 was and all the things I accomplished and what it felt like, and what the new car smelled like, and what the house looked like, and the house that I built over here, and the book tours and all it. Like, I mean, you get really specific about it, because and I coach people in manifestation. So the importance of connecting the emotion to the ask. The brain doesn't know the difference between a thought and reality anyway. So it's going to give you what you say you want. When you have this emotional attachment to it, it like fires it up. You're like, yeah. So, getting really specific with those things when you're journaling is important. I mean, down to, if you want the relationship, what does he, and it's like general specificity, because I don't want it, because when you say, for example, if I say I want to make, $100,000 as quickly as it can come to me, there's ease with that. If I say I need to make $100,000 by next week, that creates angst and contrast, right? So that it's going to make it more challenging, because now I'm worried about the doingness of how to make that happen. And so that then triggers the masculine energy of, all right, now we got to go get it done, versus I am open to receiving this money as quickly as it will come to me. And that feels really good. Now I'm not worried about how I get it done. I just know that it's going to get done, and I will become whatever I need to become for it to come into my space. So that is the other part of it, having the morning ritual, creating your sacred space, allowing yourself to explore. And that's important, like being in exploration and discovery with yourself. Who are you really? Yeah. Do you like being outside? Well, how do you know? Do you spend time outside? Do you like water or not? Or do you like oceans? Do you like being out in nature? Do you like hiking? Do you like running? Do you like yoga? Like, what do you like? What makes you feel good? And then do more of that. So, but a lot of people don't really know themselves. And sitting with themselves is challenging. And then sometimes you sit with yourself and you're like, I don't actually really like who I am, or I don't really like my life. And that's not a bad thing. You just have to learn how to show it without judgment. So again, with ease is to not assign meaning to anything. Let it all be neutral. Don't give it meaning. And then be like, okay, well, I don't like this part about my life. Okay, well, who do I get to be to change it? I get to create, and that the womb energy is all about, creation and life energy. And, so like, who do you get to be? Choose it. So that's important. Listening to your intuition is another thing. If it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. So if you're presented, I promise you, if you're presented something and someone's like, hey, do you want to go here? If you're like, it's a hell no. If your immediate reaction is not like, ooh, yeah, that sounds amazing, it's a hell no. So that's it. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Anything else is, you're caught in the middle, right? And it's like, so when people are like, hey, are you hungry? I could eat. Well, that's a hell no. That means you're not really hungry. You know what I mean? Like,
you're just gonna eat.
Yeah, like I could eat. Well, yeah, we're always gonna eat at some point, but do you want to eat now is the question, right? So listen to your intuition. Your body is going to tell you exactly what it needs. Your body will not steer you wrong if you listen to it. And as women, our intuition is just right behind our gut. So when they say trust your gut, there's like a reason that they say that. So listen to your body. Like, what happens in your stomach when something is presented to you? You just like feel some tingles. Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna pass on that. Or if your body's like, ooh, get chills, like, oh, that sounds good. I think I'm gonna try that. So listen to your intuition is something else. Then you can, I do sacred bathing. So you can bathe with like honey and cinnamon and oranges and rose petals, like whatever feels good and soft and yummy to you, like do that.
Oh, wow.
So you don't have to do, and it doesn't have to be every day, but just the feminine energy is there's a softness about it. There's a gooiness to it, like, ooh, that feels so, it should feel like a massage, Yes. And so you get to create that. You don't have to go out and get massages and get facials. You can, but you can create that soft space for yourself. And in putting aside that time for you, you know, running a bath, putting some lavender, like fresh lavender or rose petals, or dried flowers or whatever, essential oils, like orange essential oil, patchouli, cinnamon, sandalwood, rose. Those are some good essential oils that just help to relax the mind and the body. Lavender is going to make you sleepy. It's going to relax you to a point where you sleep really good. So just know if you got to get on with your day, lavender, don't start the day with lavender. If you're into crystals, you know, pick one that resonates with you and wear it.
Yeah.
You know, and then an affirmation. So I have some affirmations that I'll share as well. One of the affirmations is that I am comfortable in my body. And you say that to yourself every day. I'm comfortable in my body. I'm comfortable in my body. Look at yourself in the mirror. I'm comfortable in my body. Put your hand on the place of your body that you talk the most crap about. Okay, whether it's your thighs, your butt, the cellulite, the stomach, the knees, whatever, your neck, whatever it is, put your hands there and say to yourself, I love you, body. Thank you, body. I am comfortable in my body. And that's like the first way in honoring your like sacred body, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to honor your creativity. So we are creative beings by nature. We're supposed to be creative beings. And your womb, when we're talking about this divine feminine energy, is connected to your womb chakra or your sacral chakra, right? So that's, you know, right in the pelvic region, the region right between your hips, right? So, you know, putting your hands there, just resting them there and whispering, you know, a little love note to yourself. I love you, body. Thank you, body. You're amazing. You can heal yourself. You're strong. You're beautiful. You're creative. Whatever that feels like, you know, you just say it. But honoring your creativity. So maybe as a kid, you used to love to draw. Why did you stop drawing as an adult? Because somewhere someone told you to stop doing that. You know, I wanted to major in drama in college. My mom told me that wasn't a real major. I was like, well, why do you have all these professional actors and actresses? It's clearly a real thing, but drama doesn't pay the bills, is what I was told. So, you know, right. But I got into drama after, you know, as an adult. So yeah, those things that you wanted to do as a kid that you didn't get to do, or the things that you used to love to do, like tap into those. That helps you as well in honoring your creativity. And then you can say to yourself, I have the power to create worlds. I have the power to create worlds. Now, this is a big one, and the next one's the big one. And, you know, activating the divine feminine is to heal the relationship with your mother. And for me, that was the most challenging one, because my mom and I had a very strained relationship between like 2008 to 2022 almost. Like, you know, it was very, very challenging. And to this day, we have different accounts of, you know, the facts and different experiences of factual events that have happened, and that's okay. And healing your relationship with your mom, you know, it's called healing the mother wound. And it's important that you do that, because you can heal by healing that relationship. You can heal 7 generations back, and you can create new experiences 7 generations forward. And it's important that you can do this whether your mother is alive or if she's already transitioned. It doesn't matter. You still can make the decision to heal that relationship. Now, that's a much longer conversation about how to do that. And, you know, if you need like a therapist, you know, to help guide you through that, or just some other things, but healing the relationship with your mom is important. And for me, I had to get to a place where I said, at the end of the day, despite the things that I experienced, my mother was doing the best that she could with the information that she had at the time. And when I said that, and I really believed it, it was like I could have compassion for the things that had happened, the things, you know, and so it didn't matter if I got an apology or not. I saw her with a softness where I just said, I love my mom, and I don't think she was purposely trying to hurt me. She did. And, you know, there were things I had to deal with as a result. But at the end of the day, she was raising me the way she was raised, and the way her mother was raised, and the way that person, you know. So when you get to that place where you can say that, and it's like, it's almost like you just take this weight off of your shoulder. So healing the relationship with your mom is really important. An affirmation is that I lovingly forgive and release. I lovingly forgive and release. Healing the relationship with mother culture, so Mother Earth, you know, mother tongue, motherland, whatever, you know, they're like cultural moms, right? The affirmation for that is that I am powerful beyond belief. And that's where you can spend some time in nature. You can get grounded, walk barefoot, you know. Another conversation probably for a longer day, the relationship with your menstrual cycle is something else. So you start to heal your relationship with the way in which you look at your menstrual cycle, like it just really, like things really open up for you there. So because we're taught that it's just unclean and it like is, you know, oh, it's a murder scene and all this thing, but it's actually one of the most powerful things you can do in activating your divine feminine energy is doing the womb work and shifting your mindset and relationship with your menstrual cycle. When you do that and you understand that the power to create, it's like your body is not purging. Like we're taught that, oh, you know, every month it's purging, but that actually it's a very powerful time where like your intuition is high, you're open. You should be resting and taking ease, so you're softer, so you can, you know, you get messages and all of this kind of stuff. So there's a lot that you can do there with that. And I guess I'll say it for another day. And then dance.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you know, moving your hips, dancing for your own pleasure, like just, I'll just put music on and just dance around the damn house. Like my dog looks at me like I'm crazy, and then she's like, oh, I'm gonna dance too, and then she starts jumping, and you know, but you can do hip circles, you can try yoga, you can just have a whole twerk session by yourself, do pole fitness, burlesque, cabaret, anything that just, you know, makes you get in touch with the softer, feminine, sexy aspects of you. And if you are like really struggling with body image and self-love, that's one of the best things that you can do, is find a space that feels safe for you to explore that aspect of, I went to a Korean bathhouse, and I don't know if you've ever been to one, but my friend was, okay. So she was like, we pulled up, she's like, I would need to know, like, how cool are you with nakedness? And I was like, I mean, I'm cool with it. I play ball overseas, and the shower rooms would be like just a room with spigots. So I was like, yeah, I'm used to being around people that are naked, like whatever. And she was like, okay. Go inside. I was like, oh, it's naked up here. And so, and she had just had like this butt job done. So it was really funny because she was just like sauntering and sashaying through the bathhouse. Like, everyone look at my new butt. And nobody was paying her attention. But for me, I used to struggle with body image because I had stretch marks after having my son. And so I would only wear one-piece bathing suits and, so being like totally naked, but you're right, everybody is naked and nobody is looking at anybody. You got to be naked to go into the showers and the pools and all this other stuff. But, so it was just like, this is actually really cool. And just learning to walk around in the nude and not to be disgusted by what you see, to choose to love and honor that your body, you are a goddess and it is a temple and it was created in perfection and you are perfect, whole, and complete. And girl, love all of that. Love all your curves, even the dimples, like love it all, because there are people that wish they had what you had. Even if you didn't have it, love it, And when I started doing that, I was like, ooh, and then when I said, okay, Kena, you're getting a little too soft. I like to be fit. Like, okay, cool. Well, you know what? Thank you, Fat. I appreciate you, how you kept me warm during the winter. And now I release you I don't need it anymore. I don't need you anymore. I love you. Thank you. And it just, just release it. You learn to release. You're not losing weight. You're just releasing what no longer serves you.
Mm.
And again, it's shifting the mindset, but that moving your hips and learning to just dance for yourself and love who you are is also important. And so an affirmation for that is that my hips move mountains.
Mm.
My hips move mountains. And think about it. Your hips can bring in life, like literally a whole human form passes through your hips. How amazing are our bodies, where we can bring life into the world, and then the body will close right on back up. So, hips move mountains. Okay, then I have two more. Release unhealthy attachments and codependency.
Mm.
So our womb spaces, they can hold and carry a human baby for up to 10 months, right? And then we carry the residue of unhealthy and unhealed relationship energies in our womb. So if you think about like every sexual partner a woman has, there's a connection, there's a cord that is connected to that person. So I don't care about anybody's body count. We all have them. So when you think about that, you may have 1 or 2 cords. You may have 20, 30, 40 cords. And that's no judgment. It's just there's an attachment until you choose to actively and then spiritually and, emotionally detach that, like burn the cord. And so it's not enough to just be like, we broke up and I've moved on. Girl, I'm healed. I'm good. I got a new man. No, it's more than that. It's so much more than that. I've actually done cord cutting. And so it's visualizing yourself, like closing your eyes, getting grounded and centered. And I'm walking through this very quickly, but getting grounded and centered, visualizing, just kind of this white protective space around you. And then it's you seeing that person in front of you and the cord that's attached from your wound to their sacral area as well. And then you actively lighting it and seeing the fire burn the cord from you to that person, thanking that person. They walk away, the ashes drop, and the connection is done. And then if you ever decide to have a relationship, whether it's a friendship or whatever with that person, it comes from a healthy, healed space versus, carrying this baggage and residual residue from the past. So releasing that is really, really important. And the affirmation for that is I am free. I am free. And then heal shame. That's the last one. The divine feminine body sacred container is also where we store our grief, our fear, our anger, shame. And you can do like a womb forgiveness ceremony. And, I spend a lot of time where I'll just sit in certain yoga positions. I just have my hand on my womb and just breathe into it. I'm whispering things. But one of the things that I always say is I'm proud of myself. That's a simple affirmation. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my life. I'm proud of my son. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of how I choose to show up in the world. I'm proud of my decisions. The life that I'm living right now, I prayed for it at some point in my life. So here I am. Thank you. And if I don't like it, I'll go pray and create something else. So, those are, I hope that's been helpful.
Yes.
In some of the ways that you can, activate your divine feminine energy, bringing it into balance. And now let's be clear, it can be out of balance. Just like you can be high on the masculine side, you'd be like way too high on the feminine side, like, girl, bring it down. So it doesn't have to be, all this aesthetic dance. It can be that, but it doesn't have to be what you see portrayed on social media. There's so many things that you can do in a very real way at home. You don't have to go on a retreat to have it happen. Like you can activate this at any point in time. I'm not saying don't do retreats. I host retreats. So, by all means, do a retreat. But these are things that you can do for yourself right now. Yeah.
And it doesn't even cost any money.
Doesn't cost any money.
It's free.
Yep.
I love your affirmations.
Thank you.
And I never heard anybody talking about healing that relationship with their mom, how that can really affect you from activating that divine feminine. Like it could be preventing you from fully embracing that divine
Yeah.
feminine.
I mean, it's the first feminine relationship you have in
Yeah.
your life is with your mom. And if that's not a healthy one, then you grow up believing that people that say that they love you and that they are supposed to protect you and teach you and nurture you, you
Mm,
don't get that. You grow up not trusting because the people you share DNA with were
mm,
your first sources of pain and hurt and trauma. So that's the first relationship. I mean, you're connected to your, this is the other reason why it's important. Visualize your grandmother being pregnant with your mother. Okay. Women, we're born with all the eggs we will ever have, where men can reproduce sperm like every 30, 45 minutes, like that. Right? Like this is a whole nother conversation for another day. But so you were in your grandmother's womb,
mm,
right? The trauma that your grandmother experienced, your mother experienced in the womb, you experienced in the womb, and guess what? Your children
mm.
experience in the womb. That's 4 generations right there. So yeah, it's really important to heal the relationship with your mom because it starts to heal previous relationships. And it then impacts the way that you show up and choose to parent your children, which will then that will impact how they parent their children. And it shifts your entire legacy. So if the first relationships that you have are the most damaged ones,
Mm.
of course we're just, fight or flight because we don't trust. We put up the wall and we're in our masculine space because like, that was my mama. She was supposed to protect me. She was supposed to protect me from Uncle so-and-so touching me. That was my mama. She was supposed to protect me. Why did daddy leave? Like all of these things as kids, happen at young ages. And, if mom wasn't aware, she didn't know. And
Yeah.
maybe she knew, but that's not how she was raised. She was raised a certain way. She raised you that way. And she's like, I turned out okay. You'll turn out okay. And in my family, like you didn't have therapy. You had Jesus. Like you went to church and you gave it to Jesus. You put it on the altar and you told the pastor about it. Somehow it was supposed to be better. So like, I'm tongue in cheek with it, but it's true. Like that they say, take it to Jesus. Like you call him on the main line, tell him what you want. Kind of. I mean, I grew up this way. I'm no longer, in the church, but this was my life, and I appreciate that upbringing, and I understand that is no longer the space that I'm in because I realize that there's an aspect of that in my mind that's missing, and for me, my healing. I couldn't sit it over here and wait for something to happen. I had to be an active participant in my own healing and transformation. And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
And sometimes healing the relationship with an estranged parent means that you have to create some boundaries and some space and maybe even cut them off for a period of time while you go through your journey. And then you revisit it. But it's really, really important that, you heal the mother relationship. That's important.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you have been giving us so much knowledge. You have told us affirmations, you share your story. Like anybody who can get started, you have gave them like really good ideals, even having a morning routine, working on your softer side, whether it's just dancing and moving your hips or just really touching your body and speaking kind words to it. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to add about how to activate the divine feminine?
No, I think I gave you all a lot
Yeah.
to start with, and there are levels to things. Like in life, there's levels to everything, and so I wouldn't tell someone to jump into like a moon cycle ceremony before they've even come to be like, oh, my cycle's here, yay, and not from like a yay, I'm not pregnant, not from that space, but from the space of yay, this is just another sign of how powerful my body is.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend then, telling you how you can use your menstrual cycle to create and manifest things in your life. That's a whole nother level, right? So I think Divine Feminine Energy 101, 201 we covered today.
Yeah.
And if I was to put it in, courses, so to speak, I think that's a great place to start, because these are simple concepts to process. They are not easy to do. Telling someone to heal their relationship with their mom is simple. It's simple for me to say that, but the actual doingness of it is not easy. Telling you to look at yourself in the mirror and speak lovingly to your body might be simple and easy for some. It's simple for me to say. It brings anxiety and fear and tears for others, right? And then, so it's a lot, just what I gave you on, how to do some of these things simply. Yeah, you can write it down and all that seems real simple, but putting it into just waking up every day and creating a 20-minute morning ritual is not easy. It takes committed action. So, and it's why I say, listen, I'm not guaranteeing any of this works for you, because I can't guarantee you will work for you, right? I can't guarantee that you're going to do these things and take committed action. I can say that I guarantee that I'm giving you the tools, and you can put them in the toolbox and do nothing with it, or you can build something, and that's totally, your choice. And that's the beautiful thing about transformation.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much, Kena. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad we were able to do this.
Yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. And I hope that you found value in today's episode, and that you take some of the steps that Kena shared with you, whether you just do one thing at a time, and start putting it to action, okay? If you haven't enjoyed today's episode, make sure you leave me a review. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so that you can catch the next episode. All right, you guys, have an amazing day.